Hey guys, it's Jessica, and I am back because I wanted to share another version of the tag box tutorial that I shared yesterday. There was a woman who commented on that video, and her name is Ann Savage, and I'm going to tag her in the description of the video because she deserves all the credit. She commented on that video and figured out dimensions for how to make the box bigger because when I was showing this box yesterday, I was showing that, like, it fits these tags great, but my bigger tags that I have that are much wider, and I think these are probably about 2.5 inches wide. Actually, they're 2 3/4. These don't fit in there great. If I wanted to fit, I have to go sideways, and then it kind of makes things a little bit weird. So she gave me dimensions for how to make the box 3 inches wide at the base. Is it 3 inches wide? No, I'm questioning. Yeah, 3 inches wide at the base. So then you could fit those bigger tags. So I took her dimensions and I made it. And so this is the size difference that you can see here. This is the original that I shared, and this is the bigger one. So you can even fit the smaller one in there. Like, that's how big this one is. And I just love the size. I think it could be used for a lot of different things. One of the things I thought of is that it's so wide and deep that you can absolutely use it to put, like, I think this is what I'm gonna do next year is I'm gonna put some socks in there and maybe some nail polish and like a nail file and wrap it up and do like a, I have a stamp that's like cozy toes or something like that. You could fit several candy bars in there. You can fit like all sorts of things. It's such a nice size box. So what I did was I took those larger tags that I have been making and I put them in here to see how well they would fit, and they absolutely fit really great. The one thing I noticed is that if you can't tell, it is very deep, so the tags kind of get lost down there. So like, I think if I was making taller tags, it works fantastic, but because mine are kind of short, I also figured out a way to cut off the top, which is like really easy. So I wanted to show you how to make this larger box. Before I get to that, I wanted to share this tag because I don't know if the texture is going to show up on there, but this was the funnest tag I've ever made, I think. And I was honestly just took out some supplies and was just messing around. So this is a double layer of Distress Oxide glaze in that newer green color, and then I took some I think it's like Lindy's Gang or something along those lines, where it's like just a spray bottle with white paint in it, and then I sprayed them on there. And the one thing I noticed is that I probably should have stamped the sentiment after I did the spraying, because I don't know if it'll show up very well, but it's kind of made my sentiment fade. But then I thought, it's kind of cool looking. Like, it makes the card look, or the tag look kind of, I don't know, vintage or worn or something. But anyways, I got distracted telling you about that. So let me show you how to make this bigger box. And you're going to need the same supplies as yesterday. So you're going to need some glue, a scoreboard, an envelope punch board, and some scissors. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to cut down our paper to 7.5 by 7.5 square. So if you have 8 by 8 paper pads, this is a great way to use that. And then you'll just have 1/2 inch strips left over, and you can use those strips to like wrap around the box or use it in other ways. This paper I'm using is 8.5 by 11 that came from a paper pad from Hobby Lobby a couple years ago. And I'm only down to like a few sheets of it, so I thought I'd just use that up. So, and then 7.5 by 7.5. So because I am using larger paper, I do have a lot more scraps to use, but I have been using those scraps and using my punches to make some, just some smaller tags. So that is a way to use up those scraps if you're in the same predicament I am and you're using a larger piece of paper. So now we're going to use our envelope punch board, and like I said yesterday, this one is just the all-in-one. I think they call it something else, but if you have just the normal envelope punch board, that's okay too. So I'm going to use my extender here because the paper is a little bit longer than my score line. So like I said yesterday, you're only going to need to remember 2 measurements, but this time it's 2.5 and 5. So you're going to punch at 2.5 and at 5 on all sides. And then on 3 of the sides, you're going to punch at 2.5 and 5, but you're also going to score at 2.5. And again at 5. So now we're going to rotate it, and we're going to do 2.5 and score, 5, punch and score, and then rotate it one last time, do 2.5, punch and score, and then 5, punch, oops, and score. So that is all we're going to need the punch board for. So we'll get that set aside. So, and let me flip it over. So like we did yesterday, you're going to have a section of the box, and let me see if I can highlight it again here. You're going to have a section of the box that is a longer strip, whereas on the sides they have the folds, but this long strip right here is going to be the back of our box. So if you can see like that, let's see, there we go. That is the back of the box, and then these are going to be the sides of our box, and it's going to be the bottom of the box. So what we're going to do is fold on all the score lines, just like we did yesterday for the smaller box. And that is all of them. Okay, and then on the bottom of our box, so you'll see here that we have this flap right here, a flap right here, and then a flap right here. So we'll call this 1, 2, and 3. So 3 is going to what support the bottom of our box, and then 1 and 2 are what's going to fold in to stabilize the box. So in order to do that, we need to turn these into actual moving flaps. So we're just going to cut up the line right there. And again, on this side, we're just cutting on the score mark. And now you'll see how they are going to fold in. So if you want the box to be deeper like this one is, you just leave it as is, you fold it and put it together. If you want it to be shorter because you have shorter tags like I do, or you just want more depth or space for whatever it is to come out, and you want to cut off the top, then all you're going to do is this corner right here and this corner right here. Let me see if I can get those in. So it's this corner and this corner. I'm just going to cut straight across with my paper trimmer. But like I said, you don't have to do this. You can leave it completely as is if you want that deeper box like this. So now I'm actually going to go find my larger tag dies and make some larger tags so they'll fit perfectly in this box. But because what I'm working on now are these smaller ones, then I want to cut off this top. So it's really cool that you just have a lot of different options when it comes to these kinds of things. And I know it does create more scraps, but what I've been doing with my scrap tops here is I've been getting out my punches and again, just making some tags. So if you can see there, it's that same paper I'm working with right now. Just use it as a background, and then honestly, you could use it as decoration on the front of your box. Okay, so now we are going to put it together. And the one thing I did do, I don't know if you could tell on this side, is I didn't push it in good enough before the glue set. So I'm going to be very mindful of that this time. I don't know why my top keeps coming off my glue like that. I apologize if you see a lot of mess around me. I was still working on tags last night, just kind of messing around with different products and was just kind of having fun and doing my own thing. So on these flaps that we labeled 1 and 2, I'm just going to put glue on it and then make sure it lines up perfectly with the bottom of my box or that other score line, and just kind of hold it in place until it starts to stick and dry. So now we're going to do the other flap. And same thing. So now I'm not making that same mistake, and I'm lining it up, and I'm going to hold it there for just a couple seconds. Okay. And now what we're going to do is just glue the inside. So you can do it however you want. So this bottom flap here, this flap 3, it can be on the outside as long as you line up everything nice and neat, or it can be on the inside. I find it easier to have it on the inside, so that is what I'm going to do. So I like to do one side at a time, because you'll notice that the glue, you don't need to put glue on the entire number 3 flap, just the tops of it. So now we'll do this side. I want to make sure that I am still square. Okay, there we go. Okay, and that is it. And now my box is perfectly square, and now it's not so tall. But like I said, you can leave it as is, and now you have a really cool box that you can do all sorts of things with. But 2 different options, same paper, same punches, same score lines, all that. But thank you so much, Anne, for giving me those dimensions, and I really appreciate it. And if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to comment down below, and thank you so much for being here.